Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Megan and we talk about all things romance, fantasy romance over here on my channel. If that sounds like you and something you're interested in, definitely subscribe so you can be around for future videos. Alright, so today we are going to be picking out the TBR for March, which I love picking out TBRs. It's probably my favorite part of the month, to be completely honest with you. And I do mine a little bit differently. So I've seen a lot of people do TBR jars and stuff like that, but I feel like when I've done that in the past, it has made it harder for me to stick to my reading goals. So I figured I would take a little bit of time to share with you kind of my process to meet reading goals while also giving myself some flexibility to be a mood reader, because I want both of those things. So I have found a little bit of a system that works for me, and that is to have a main TBR where I pick 5 books that are based off of my reading goals and what I want to accomplish for the year. And then I typically read 8 to 10 books a month. So whatever I backfill with is just their wild cards, and that's how I pick whenever the mood strikes. So the 5 books that I'll be picking for my main TBR follow kind of a short list of criteria. So I like to have 2 diverse books, 1 book from my physical TBR, 1 new fantasy romance book, and then I like to choose 1 book that is from a series that I'm in the middle of, because I am a chronic series starter, but I have a hard time finishing series, especially if it's fantasy and there's a lot of books. Like, I just get distracted. I feel like I'm learning about myself that I'm the type of person that I have to read something as it releases, because if I don't, I can't binge read an entire series. Like, I have to take breaks, and then when I take breaks, I end up just not coming back to it. So with my main TBR, I've tried to address that problem so I can get through the series that I'm in the middle of. So let's go ahead and talk about those. So for my 2 diverse books, the first one is going to be Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. Now, this is a new release that comes out on March 4th, so the beginning of the month. I have read Legendborn and then Bloodmarked, so this is the 3rd book. I don't know how many books are supposed to be in this series actually, but I am so excited about this new release. This is a young adult fantasy series that is a King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table retelling, which is kind of cool and unique. I've never read anything like that before. It has secret societies, there's a love triangle, found family, and our main character, Bree, she is also figuring out a lot of stuff as far as her hidden lineage and the magic that she has. So I'm very excited for the continuation of this story. I've been waiting patiently, and I just love being a part of new releases. I think it's so fun. The second book, which is actually 2 books, but they're shorter, so I'm kind of lumping them together, is the Brown Sisters trilogy. So these are all contemporary romance books, and they follow 3 sisters, Chloe, Danny, and Eve Brown. And I'm reading the first book right now, which is about Chloe, and it's called Get a Life, Chloe Brown. After a near-death experience, she decides to make a Get a Life list, which I think that is so good. Like, instead of a bucket list, it's a Get a Life list, because she feels like she hasn't truly been living. And so this accident has showed her that, like, hey, you need to get out, you need to be doing some things. I also really like it because there is a chronic illness representation. She has fibromyalgia, so her chronic pain is definitely talked about. And as someone who has people close to me that have fibromyalgia in my life, I really appreciate that. I'm not too far into the first book, but so far it has been hilarious. So I'm very excited to read the next 2 books. 1 book from my physical TBR. My physical TBR is not super big. I don't have a lot of space for a lot of books. As you can tell, like these are my bookshelves right here. So let's take a look and see what's calling out to us. I will probably read this one. So I chose Wild Love by Elsie. My friend got me the deluxe copy for my birthday. I haven't read Wild Love yet, but I definitely plan on doing that. And I have to get a physical copy too, because I mean, these spines are like, look at that. That is so cool. And so when you put them all together, they're gonna make mountains, and I love that. And this color palette is everything. The 3rd book also comes out on March 4th. So we have 2 book releases on March 4th, but Elsie Silver is an auto-buy author for me. I love her books. I have read the Gold Rush Ranch series, I've read the Chestnut Springs series, and now I will be reading Wild Love, what is the name of this series actually? I will actually be finishing up her entire catalog that she has, which is really exciting. I've only done that with a few authors, and yeah, she writes, I think, very realistic men. They get over their trauma in really unrealistic ways, if I'm being completely honest. But do I still love reading about it? Every time. I'm gonna eat it up. I'm gonna be shoveling it in my mouth with a spoon, no questions asked. And then one new fantasy romance. I will typically go to Kindle Unlimited for this one because I just feel like there are so many fantasy romance books on Kindle Unlimited. By the way, I'm so curious, like if you track your TBR, like what are we using? I don't like using my notes app. I don't know, it just feels a little cluttered to me to use like the want to read section on any of the apps. I'm curious if anybody else feels the same way. And if you have another solution, like let me know, I'm super curious. Oh man, there's so many good ones. Like, ugh, every time I look at this list, I'm like, how do I choose? How do I choose, really? But I'd like to find one that maybe is a standalone, if that's even possible. A standalone or a part of like interconnected standalones. Ooh, maybe this is time to do Keri book. I've seen Anathema, I've seen Nocticadia, and I think she has another one. Blood of Hercules, that's funny. I want to do something a little bit darker. I don't have very many dark books on my TBR. So I think I'm gonna do Anathema. I'm gonna add that to my list. So actually I'm gonna go ahead and download it. So it's on my Kindle, ready to go. So our new fantasy romance book is going to be Anathema by Keri Lake. All I know about this is that it's a dark gothic book. I don't really know much about the plot. I like to go into my books pretty much completely blind. If you've read it though, let me know in the comments if you liked it. I've heard nothing but good things, so my expectations are kind of high. Okay, and last is one book from a series that I'm in the middle of. Now, I've been putting this book off for a while. That is going to be book 9 in the Zodiac Academy series, which is actually the last book in the Zodiac Academy series. Why have I been putting this off? You may be curious, because most people talk about how they just binge the series and it becomes their personality. Don't get me wrong. Has become my personality. I recommend it all the time. I think about it all the time. I don't know. I've just never read a more gut-wrenching, heartbreaking story than I have in Zodiac Academy. Like people talk about it being this like you're there for the vibes and it's not that serious, which it's not. You know, like there's a lot of like really funny comedic moments, but also there's a very intense like love story in there that will rip your heart out. And like I have never wanted to throw a book across the room as much as I have several times, with probably 3 books in this series, book 8 being one of them. After I've read 2 books in that series, I've had to take a break in between just because of the emotional damage that has happened. Feeling ready to face my demons and to finally finish the series, because I want to do like a Zodiac Academy ranking and a Zodiac Academy reading order video. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you're scared to start Zodiac Academy, let me know and I can do a video about it, like what you're worried about, and address any kind of questions you may have about Zodiac Academy, because it is so worth it, but the authors will put you through it. They have no mercy. Okay, so that is 6 books for now, and like I said, the second half of my TBR, I typically just fill in whatever the mood strikes, but I will say something that I've already had my eye on is reading Gone Girl by, is it Gillian Flynn or Gillian Flynn? I've heard it pronounced both ways, I don't know. I've had this book on my physical TBR for a long time, and I have the audiobook actually in my Libby, and I have been wanting a good thriller book. I've been just like in the mood for it, and I've heard this is a classic to read. So yeah, just to recap, the books that I have chosen are Oathbound by Tracy Deonn, books 2 and 3 in the Brown Sisters trilogy, Wild Love by Elsie Silver for my physical TBR, Anathema by Keri Lake, and book 9 in the Zodiac Academy series. Let me know if you've read any of these. Please don't give spoilers for myself or anyone else. Just give us general vibes. You know, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you just kind of like, meh? I'd love to hear about it and keep this conversation going. And also tell me what's on your TBR. I want to know what everybody else is reading, because even though my TBR is endless, we all know the limit does not exist when it comes to the TBR. So let me know all of those things in the comments. I hope you had a great February, and I hope March is even better for you. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful reading month, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.